So another scorcher of a day here today. Is this just a weather event or is this climate change?
Okay, so weather, it's all the ups and downs, it's all the noise, it's things changing day to day, right? So weather events come and go. You've got warmer days, you've got colder days. But climate change means that you're steadily shifting the average temperature towards warmer and warmer levels, which then means that a warm day, a 30-degree day, for example, becomes more likely as we move towards a warmer world. And so, yeah, 30-degree days, they show up in St. John's. They're relatively rare. I mean, there's only been one in the last 9 years, aside from yesterday. So, these things happen, but of course, as things get warmer, you see them more often. Yeah.
How much more often do you think we'll start to see these kinds of temperatures?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say exactly how often we'll see these things, but more often is the answer, right? And what I'd stress is that globally we're seeing records being broken over large areas and long-term records being broken more and more often. So we've seen record high temperatures in Canada recorded last summer in BC during their heat wave. We saw record temperatures in Siberia in the last couple of years. We've seen record temperatures in the UK just in the last week. These are indications then that the climate is shifting quickly, and it's not really waiting for us to start reining in our use of fossil fuels. The use of these things is producing a lot of the climate change that we're seeing these days. Would I expect to see them more often? Yes. How much more often? I don't know. I'm already seeing changes in climate that we wouldn't have expected, for example, in the UK for maybe another 15, 20, 30 years. So we're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, what kind of changes are we seeing?
So around here, we are seeing a slow uptick in temperatures. We are seeing particularly an increase in winter temperatures. In this province, the changes are most pronounced in Labrador, where you've seen a loss of sea ice in the winter, where you've seen huge increases in average temperature, particularly in some years where, for example, you have unusable snowmobile trails because they just haven't frozen over, or there's been freeze-thaw events that have left them muddy and a mess, right? So we're seeing critical events in more northern parts of the province, but even around here, we can think about last winter when we started having a lot of rain on snow events, where we had a lot of freeze-thaw, and you can think about the flooding that happened in Rennie's River as a result of one of those heavy rain on heavy snow events. We can expect to see more of that stuff. We can expect to see warmer temperatures in the summer here. We can expect to see more 20-degree days. One thing I'd stress maybe about this July is that our average temperatures are pretty high, pretty well above normal, like a degree and a half above normal compared to the last set of climate normals set in 2010. But also we've had a ridiculous number of days that have been above 20 degrees, right? So we've only had 2 days so far this month that haven't peaked above 20, and we've had a lot that are above 25 as well. That all points to a warmer setup than we typically expect. So how much more often do we expect to see these changes? More often, uncertain how much, but the world is accelerating towards a warmer state than we would have previously expected.
So when we're looking at climate change, it's not so much about hitting the high temperature on a particular day, it's about the length of time in which we stay in those warm temperatures.
Yeah, I mean those one-time records, those single-day records or monthly records, those will get broken and those will continue to get broken, but those are perhaps a little less interesting to me as a climatologist than, say, a stretch of days where things become uncomfortably warm, right? So today we might not break into the above the 30-degree mark, but it's still going to be uncomfortably warm for a lot of people who are working in buildings that aren't air-conditioned, who are living in homes that aren't really designed for these kinds of temperatures, and who are frankly suffering because they might not get enough sleep overnight. If they have underlying health issues, those can be exacerbated by the exhaustion caused by heat. So you end up with a situation where stretches of days in the high 20s or low 30s are a problem for us. We don't have to get to the temperatures that are hit in the UK to start seeing some follow-up problems.
And you talk about homes and stuff and infrastructure. We saw in the UK runways that were melting. Airplanes couldn't land, and we saw trains, the rails were melting as well, getting warped because of the high temperatures. And here in this province, we didn't exactly build our cities for hot temperatures. So what kind of challenges could that pose in the future?
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to what you can do to help your people, your population, when these high temperatures start being hit, right? So if you don't have cooling stations, if you don't have air-conditioned restaurants people can hide out in, you'll talk to people in Ontario and Quebec who will say, we have these temperatures and higher temperatures all the time and we do fine. But of course, they're more likely to live in an air-conditioned home. They're much more likely to work in an air-conditioned place. They'll go to restaurants that have air conditioning, bars that have air conditioning, things that aren't so common here. I mean, while we might not see higher temperatures, the temperatures we'd see in Toronto or Montreal, we still aren't necessarily ready for those higher temperatures we see here, which is one of the reasons why you have to rethink events like the Telly 10 when you've got temperatures even bumping into the high 20s and low 30s. It takes a long time to flip cities around, right? You can't just take a city that was developed for a cooler climate and rapidly readjust it for warmer temperatures, which is one of the reasons why the UK was in crisis for the last couple of weeks. It's not just the record-breaking 40-degree temperatures that they were seeing there, it's also the fact that they had high temperatures before that while schools were still in session, in unconditioned environments, working in places that weren't air-conditioned, riding on trains, subways, etc. that aren't air-conditioned as well, and just suffering the entire time.
Happy Valley Goose Bay got just over 38 degrees. Do you think we could start seeing 40-degree days like the UK?
I mean, we haven't ever had temperatures that are close to that, right? We see temperatures in the low 30s as sort of breaking records, right? So I think what is in St. John's in July, it's like 31.5 degrees is our maximum temperature recorded in July here. I think you've got up to like 33 degrees for the maximum temperature overall. So I'd be surprised if we saw 38 degrees here in St. John's anytime soon. But then I'll tell you right now, the UK was surprised to see so many temperatures in the high 30s and breaking 40 degrees last week. So surprises are becoming less and less surprising.
That's a very good point. Thank you so much for this.
No problem. My pleasure.